So when I first started, it was a bit of a rude awakening. It's the most frustrating 9 seconds I ever filmed, but followers aren't what social media is anymore. I've probably scored 12 converted clients off it, all very high value as well. There's 17,000 brokers in this country. You can choose any of them.
How do you find where people are coming from?
Back in the 70s, you needed 3 touch points for someone to trust you. Now, you need 28 touch points. No one cares about the content at the start. The only person that cares is you.
David Pelligra, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to have you on in particular because you are someone who's gone under a large journey over the last year and a half when it comes to content. You've tried every little thing on every platform to try and find what actually generates leads for your business. And today I just wanted to dive a little bit deeper. So tell me, how did you get started with the content? What was your approach? What was your experience?
So previous to being a mortgage broker, I was working in a family business where we did a lot of content to generate sales. It's a very different sort of concept I had to do when it came to content there and how we made sales online. But then making it to mortgage broking, I just fully understood that this is where the attention is. The attention is on social media. That's where the eyeballs are. That's where the ears are. And people go there to get educated. And, we're not Googling stuff much anymore. I mean, we still do, but we don't do that much anymore. And if an ad runs on TV, no one's watching the ad. They're all scrolling their phone. So this is the place for me to sort of put my face to generate as much business as possible through social media.
And what was your experience when you first got started? Like, did you get a lot of views early? Did you get none? What was the overall reception?
So when I first started, it was a bit of a rude awakening. You think, I'll turn the camera on and I'll take a couple of videos and people start calling me and, I'm going to make some money. It wasn't the case, that was for sure. And I've gone through a massive journey from then to now, sort of understanding what works, what doesn't work. I'm still learning on what works and doesn't work right now. But, when we first started, or when I first started, there was a few videos that really popped off and I didn't really understand why. We used to do like the green screen sort of videos with a house listing behind you and just running through some pictures of the house and trying to get into the whole, how much do you need to be able to purchase this? Deposit, what's your income? All that kind of stuff. And people found it interesting and sort of watched to the end. Didn't it generate a lot of business? Probably not, but it got views, right?
So on that then, when you get a lot of views on a video, do you find that it directly correlates to leads, or do you sometimes find you have like a video that performs quite mediocre, but you actually get more genuine leads for the business off that?
So I've learned this very recently after doing a couple of years of content. Wish I learned it sooner. When we're going and making content for max views, it's not necessarily going to convert into maximum leads because it's not really targeted. If you're trying to go for something a little bit more sensationalized, for an example, when the interest rates were cutting here in Australia, I did a video that was just a green screen behind me with when the banks are starting to cut their interest rates, because I was getting all of the emails. I thought I'll just put it there. And it's the most frustrating 9 seconds I ever filmed because it's gotten the most views and got me the most amount of followers on TikTok in particular, but it didn't necessarily generate many leads. Yes, it increased the follower count and that's all great, but followers aren't what social media is anymore. We're not here to follow people we care about. We're here to find information that we're interested in.
Yeah. So a lot of people found the topic interesting, but it didn't necessarily convert. Just talking about interest rates, what kind of videos have performed in the sense of actually generating clients or like actually attracting someone to go, you know what, I'm actually going to reach out to David?
So there's 2 forms of the content, right? One is like that interest rate video. I sort of basket that as entertainment, right? That's entertaining. That is maximum effect, going to affect a lot of people. It's going to get shared around really, really quickly, but it's not really actionable. Like, when's your bank going to reduce interest rates? Great. It's the 20-odd of August. Fantastic. They don't care who told them. They just care they're told. So the content that's actually working for me is where I've pivoted more into the education space, which is what I've tried to do the whole time, right? I've tried to educate as much as I could because the reason I became a mortgage broker was because I didn't know what I was doing when I bought my first house. And when I went through the process, I thought, well, there's probably a gap here to educate. I found it really interesting and here I am. So I try to educate a bit more. But to answer your question, the content that works is the one that is educating someone and that they can have a actionable takeaway from. So just recently, there's been some changes for the first home guarantee, and I've got a video right now that's doing really well because it's giving people actionable information to be able to share around with people that might find it useful. And if they're going ahead and going to take action, they're then going to reach out. And this is specifically for the short form content because there's a lot of different nuances that go into different platforms. Like TikTok's so different to Instagram, and Instagram's so different to YouTube. And, I've tried my feet at all of them. So, yeah.
So on that, you've tried your feet at all of them. You started with Instagram, I'm assuming, and then went to TikTok afterwards, or did you go the other way around?
So it was really funny. I tried to start with Instagram, but I felt naked, for lack of a better way to put it, because everyone had a name, right? My cousins, my aunties, my friends, everyone's viewing the content, and you're all of a sudden putting yourself out there, and you feel really seen, and it can be really hard to put your content out there like that. You learn to eventually not really care, but at the start it's hard. So then I moved myself to TikTok because it felt very anonymous. It felt like I was just making videos for a bunch of bots, really. It's what it felt like, and I was able to sort of be a little bit more authentic when I made the content. So I've probably done hundreds of posts on TikTok, right? Heaps of them, and they've done pretty well. And the follower count's not huge, but it converts well enough for the effort I put into it. Then the next one is where I've pivoted, trying to go back into Instagram, but I'm really learning that they need very different styles of content.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. You find that TikTok, what type of content does that need versus Instagram?
So, the 9-second video that got 500,000 views for me, I pulled up my phone with a green screen of a note on my iPhone, and I just spoke to it really raw, like I'm talking to my mate, just saying, oh, by the way, this is everything that's happening. And that's what did really well. But on Instagram, like when you chop this up, this is going to look good. This is what people want to see. Nice captions. They want to see a nice set. They want to see it edited a little bit better with actionable information because they're wanting to sit a little bit longer on the platform. That's what I've found. And also through the research that I've done, that's what I've found as well.
Okay. And then you've now gravitated into YouTube videos. We were filming some YouTube videos today. How have you found that experience with not only the volume of content is obviously different. You've got to put a lot of effort into a YouTube video in comparison to a 30-second TikTok video. There's a lot more research that needs to go involved to talk for 20 minutes on a subject. How have you found that process?
It's been fun because, again, like I wanted to do the entire time was educate as much as possible. And originally, this will circle back, I promise. Originally, when I started my business, I made a first home buyer's guide that I put a lot of effort into. It was like 35 pages long, really comprehensive, helps people understand how to buy their first house, all that kind of stuff, right? Really mapped out the document. That's been probably like the holy Bible for a lot of my first home buyer clients. I then decided I should probably do this in video format. I was going to do an Instagram series or a TikTok series, and I felt like it's probably not going to hit as well. I'm not getting the same effect. So sat on my desk, put my iPhone up, hooked up a microphone, and filmed this video that goes for, I think it's about 13 odd minutes. Me just talking through this entire thing. It's just a video of me talking straight. And it's done really well. It's got, for YouTube speak, it's got 5,500 views at the time of this recording. And on a channel that had 0 subscribers, that's not bad. And I've probably scored 12 converted clients off it, all very high value as well. And that just, took 20 minutes of recording and maybe 40 minutes of editing on my MacBook at home, and it's done really well. So I decided that I was going to pivot my content strategy and really do my research to make these YouTube videos and then use that knowledge to make short form content as well, but really focus a lot on the long form.
Do you find that obviously you're gearing towards the education content? Do you find that YouTube performs better than, say, TikTok, maybe because of the mindset the audience is in? So they've come to YouTube because they're trying to educate themselves on a topic versus I'm midway through scrolling through a bunch of viral content and I am buying a house and, this kind of piqued my interest for a second, but now I'm back to scrolling again.
Definitely. I think the intention of YouTube is there, just like Google's intention-based, right? It's all intent-based marketing. When you search something on YouTube, you're looking for something really specific. I mean, I follow a lot of people on YouTube, but I don't feel like that's what you go there for a lot. If I'm interested in a topic and I want some actionable information, that's what I'd go there for. So I figured, what's the kind of client that I would like? I'd probably like clients like myself that want to educate themselves. So that's where I sort of put the content. And you're right. I think that's their mindset. Their mindset's very much on the, I want to take a lot of things in. Where TikTok, I mean, it's all interest-based, right? I mean, I'm getting married at the end of next month, and some of my feed in between all of my mortgage broking stuff is wedding content too, because my phone obviously hears me. They say they don't listen, but they listen. And, there's wedding content that comes up. It's all interest-based, right?
Have you gone down the personal route with the social media at all? Is it 100% mortgage broking stuff, or have you mixed in a bit of the we're getting engaged, wedding planning, any of that stuff?
I haven't. Funny you say that though. I think I need to, because people need to feel gravitated to you as a person, right? There's a guy that I know on social media, and young kid, young property investor, and I've been speaking with him his whole way through his content journey, but he shared very different content to what I did. I was very education-based, very intent-based, I'm here to serve you a purpose. He made a lot of content around his daily life, around his 2 jobs that he was working, around all of that kind of stuff. And people bought into his life, right? And they love what he does and what he represents. And he attracts more people like himself, people wanting to build property portfolios and things like that. He's a mortgage broker now. And I tell you right now, he's doing awesome, right? So I think people need to buy into who you are as a person to feel more connected, to say, hey, I want David to do my loan, because there's 17,000 brokers in this country. You can choose any of them, right? But if you vibe with the person that you want to use, that's what's going to work.
You kind of go with them just because of like jobs for mates kind of to a certain extent.
Pretty much.
How do you find the actual tracking of where people are coming from? So you said you're getting a lot of clients through YouTube, getting a few through TikTok. You found Instagram a little bit harder when it comes to actually converting leads. What's your process for sort of going, okay, this person, where did you come from? Have you got a form that people fill out? What's the capturing method?
So the way that I'd love to say it's like really meticulous. It's not. It's more vibes based more than anything. But I've got a Calendly link in my link tree. So when someone books a meeting, it asks them, where'd you find me? And generally they'll say YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. That's where they'll put it there, or referred from a friend, or whatever that might be. But what I've been implementing as well, I've created a landing page for myself where all my stuff from social media gets sent there basically. And then I track that on my Google Analytics to see how many referrals are coming through onto that website. So which, referral source is going onto the website more. And my latest statistics were way outweighed on YouTube. YouTube was the main one of people clicking on that link saying, I'm looking at this landing page.
Has that made you think you'll just double down on YouTube, or you think you'll still carry on with every platform and sort of just spread the net wider? What are your thoughts on that?
I think I'll do, my plan, right, is focus a lot on the YouTube content at least once a week. I need a long form video out there. If I can get to the cadence of 2 times a week, that'd be amazing. I want to be able to put up shorts on Instagram of my YouTube videos. But what's funny is that no one really cares on TikTok about your YouTube videos or your, clips from your YouTube video. That's not the kind of content there. But again, to answer your question, I think I will continue with all of them because I feel like you need an omnipresence. The one thing I can't get around at the moment, which I need to, is LinkedIn. But that's another platform. It's just one of those things. If you're going to be in you want to build a personal brand, you need to be everywhere. You need to see me on TikTok when you open the app. You need to see me on Instagram when you open it. You need to see a video maybe on YouTube when you open up that app as well. You need to be omnipresent is probably the best word for it.
Awesome. Is the reason for that because, like, let's say I'm talking to a friend at a cafe and they go, oh, I'm looking at getting into my first property. And then that friend says to me, why don't you look up David's profile? He talks about, first home buying, all that sort of stuff. And let's say my default platform to look for people is LinkedIn. I then go there, you're not there. Is that the reason you say you've got to have an omnipresence, or what is the thought process there?
Yeah, I think so. That's one that's definitely useful. I think now in the age of shareability, if I'm going to share something to you, I'm going to send it to you on the platform I've got it.
Yeah.
Right? If I have a video of, my own mortgage broking, whatever, and I want to give it to you, I'll share it on Instagram if it's there, or I'll share it on TikTok if it's there. I think it's more so when you go on those platforms as a consumer that you see me in these little different pieces as well. But I once went to this marketing conference. It was probably, I reckon it was 8 years ago now. So I've never forgotten it. I don't know who said it, but I remember he was standing on stage and I've never forgotten what he said. He goes, back in the 70s, you needed 3 touch points for someone to trust you, 3 newspaper ads, and they were all yours. Now, this is a few years ago now, you need 28 touch points. 28 touch points. You can't do that on one platform. It's impossible. You need to do it across multiple. So if they see me on here, they see me on there, there's something popping up on Facebook, on Instagram or whatever. All these touch points creates trust, and that trust will create the higher likelihood they'll click a link and book a meeting with me.
When it comes to actually picking content topics, do you plagiarize a little bit from like looking at, say, what mortgage brokers in America are doing, even though they're very different, and going, this has performed well, so therefore there's a general interest. What's the Australian version? Like, how do you come up with your topics each week?
I actively avoid other mortgage broker content in Australia. I think it doesn't vibe with me, how a lot of them speak, and it's very structured, very formal, very like this. Needs to be a little bit more personable. The mortgage broking content in America is a little different as well. I mean, I usually try and find someone in any niche that I like and try and bring that sort of vibe to my own niche, because that's what's going to make it personal. Yeah. If I try and replicate mortgage broker content from the US, it's still going to be mortgage broking content, right? If I look at someone online that I like their content and they're an artist or a videographer or whatever they might be doing, real estate agent, and I like their content, I think, well, why do I like them is what I answer first. And then how can I implement it in my content, right? Do I film a certain way? Do I make it a little bit more raw the way that I film? Do I, use the cinematic version on my iPhone to, fade the background a little bit? Do I make sure the lighting's a little bit different? Do I structure my hooks in a different way? What do I do based on the content of someone outside of mortgage broking? Because I want to be as unique as possible inside my space.
Thank you for sharing all your insights, David. I think for anyone who's getting started in social media, it can feel overwhelming at times, and it's interesting to hear it from the perspective of someone who's actually been there and done it and jumped the hurdles and gone from platform to platform and actually worked out the nuances. And I think it'll help a lot of people who are maybe not necessarily a mortgage broker, but just trying to implement social media into their business. So thank you for sharing.
No problem. I think if there's anything I need to say to anyone that's thinking about making content, is just film it. No one cares about the content at the start. The only person that cares is you. So just keep doing it and you'll eventually get better at it. And as you get better, you'll thank yourself that you started earlier.
Great advice.